Let me ask you about your family. Yeah, lots of speculation, of course, constantly.
If you understand what I'm saying, could you translate what I'm saying?
Yes.
I want you to translate what I said.
I know what.
And then let's move on to the next question.
Okay. Let me attempt to translate.
What did I mean by that?
I think what she meant was that you are not afraid to ruffle feathers. You're not afraid to cause trouble where you feel it's justified. You're not afraid to call people out who you think deserve to be called out. But then occasionally, you've expressed yourself in a way that perhaps hasn't quite hit the right mark, and that you are work in progress, as indeed we all are, and that you could phrase things better, which would cause less offence to a wider number of people, when in fact the target of your anger may be much more specific. That would be my interpretation of what you've just said.
Do you think that we can move forward as a civilization without there being any offense? Because one person's truth can be the other person's lie.
I think it entirely depends.
You know, it's like,
I think it entirely depends. Honestly, look, part of me wants to say yes to that, but I do think there is a line, and we should all be mindful of the line. And the line to me is, I don't think any form of racism or perceived racism should ever be tolerated. I don't think that is free speech. It's just hate speech. And I think one of the problems with what you said about the Jewish people was the more generic way that you phrased that sentence. People didn't understand you were talking about specific business people you'd had a problem with. They thought you genuinely meant you were going DEFCON 3 on all Jewish people. And they took that to be a blatant form of anti-Semitism. I think you've explained in this interview that was not your intention at all, which is good. But I think if you're asking me to interpret what you've just said yourself, that would be my interpretation. That, you know, you're work in progress, and sometimes you say stuff
I didn't just
which
explain.
doesn't quite get over what you're really meaning.
But what I really mean is, I don't want it to be settled. I don't want to be forgiven by Jewish people until we get to what the problem really is. What I keep on saying, it's just always about this tweet. It's so much more. If you look back at this interview, and it's like a direction arrow, it's more in the direction of fixing the statement than fixing the problem.
I think both
and that's my problem.
I understand, but I would say to that I think they're two different things, and you can fix both actually. And I accept that part of what you were trying to do and the point you were trying to make, I completely understand it, because you've explained it in more detail. On Elon Musk, there is a suggestion that when he gets control of Twitter, which seems likely now, that he will bring you back, he'll bring Donald Trump back. Do you think that would be right?
It'll be lit. Absolutely. I was talking to Trump a couple days ago, and he was like, I'm not going to do his voice, right? But he was saying, you know, I had 277 million followers, and the next day I had nothing. And that related to, you know, Mark Zuckerberg, Meta. You know, Mark Zuckerberg thinks he is the government. These tech companies feel they're more powerful than the U.S. government, to the point of actually kicking the actual president of the United States off of an American social media platform. This is the world we live in.
And I would say, I agree with you, and I'll tell you why. I think it's completely inconsistent that companies like Facebook and Twitter allow people like the Ayatollah of Iran, for example, to remain on the platform, or Taliban people to be on the platform, but they don't allow an American president. That seems to me completely ludicrous.
Yes, and this is part of the 100-year plan that they have books on about, you know, China's takeover of America after losing the Industrial Revolution. Now, let's talk about business people. We won't refer to their race. And by the way, I'll tell you, as a Jew person, a person that has a lot of Jewish friends, it's not a race, it's a people.
Right.
And every Jewish homeboy I know is gonna be like, yo, yeah, that's right. So, but it's hard to attract, it's hard to influence patriotism on capitalists. And it's a responsibility for us as Americans to retake our power in media, to retake our power in our schools, to retake our power in our farms, to retake our power in our medicine, in our hospitals, to revitalize the country, because America invented rock and roll at the end of the day. We have the inventions. America created Apple. You understand? Like, we created the platforms that the world runs on now, and we've allowed the business people in these companies to sell us, and whatever the term is, sell them in a handbag, whatever it is, for cheap. And Americans are God-fearing, for the most part, God-fearing Christian people, and we're not cheap, and we can't be sold for cheap. And we're here to stand up and say, you got to honor who we are, our families. You got to honor our God, Jesus Christ. So, next subject.
I want to ask you about your family,
Yeah.
because you mentioned families there. A lot of stuff has been written about you and your family, a lot of it fueled by you, by Kim, by others. Where are things now with your family? What is your relationship like with Kim, with your kids?
Kim has Zionist media handlers surrounding her, all in and out her Hulu TV show, all in and out her family, all in or out the house that I created for my family. But God is alive. The devil is a defeated foe, and Kim is a Christian woman, and she's not here just to have content up on adult channels. She's not here just to have that last Interview magazine cover. If you look at the two Interview magazine covers, look at the one when I was there and look at the one when I'm not there. And that's the reason why this Tuskegee experiment of such that's happened to the black community, where they took the fathers out of the home and the leaders out of the community and have torn apart the community. Now they've seen that's worked, and they're doing that to America. I didn't feel the platform to voice my opinion, because it's always like, hey, this is your kid's mother. But it's time where the leaders, like, I'm still the priest of that home, Chris. I'm still the priest of that home. They want to make it this matriarch society, all that, and, but I am the priest of this home, and God is alive. I am the living Robert Kardashian, and I'm going to stand up for what God would want as a Christian. And then people say as a Christian, oh, you're not supposed to curse. You're not supposed to have righteous indignation. But I do. Christians had swords also. Christians got guns, I tell you that. So.
But do you talk to Kim?
I mean,
there have been reports, that you and Kim don't really talk at the moment. She's distancing herself from you because of the stuff you've been saying was getting controversy. Is that true?
I mean, John Legend is distancing himself from me and buying more Christmas sweaters in the middle of spring also. So I'm not saying that, they're making the right decisions. She's being influenced. But I guarantee you what's not finna happen, we not finna see her in one of them John Legend Christmas sweaters no time soon.
But do you talk to her? Are you still in touch with each other?
Wait a second, don't you think it's like funny to like make a joke out of stuff sometimes? Don't you think like God has a sense of humor?
Of course.
But watch this. God, when I got married, I bought this house. I did this tour and spent all the money I had on this house to like surprise Kim and give her this house that she wanted, that Lisa Marie Presley used to own. And then I got the house, and then I put all this money into renovation. And then there goes the neighborhood. Drake moves down the street 5 blocks. And that's when I knew God was funny. But watch, this is where God is even funnier. Here goes like Louis C.K. Part 2 level, because Louis C.K. is the funniest man alive. Uncancel him now, right? So and he was funnier before he's canceled, because all he would do is type of jokes that you'd get canceled on, right? So I got an office outside of Crenshaw, like in an opportunity zone. And this office, 57,000 square foot office, is the one that Tucker Carlson came to visit me at. And I look out the window, and whose office is being built, a brand new one? The Skims office.